What would you tell your younger self about navigating the impact of racism and sexual brokenness, right? We can't go backwards, but what would you tell your younger self?
Yeah, I honestly feel like a lot of that is parenting today with our kids. Like firsthand telling my younger self what I learned. But one thing that as I think through that question, speaking about racism, I'll use a quick story. Like when we were engaged, I don't even think we were engaged yet. I was taking her home from church. I was being the responsible Christian man. Take her home by a certain time. We got McDonald's and we parked in the church parking lot right outside of her apartment complex. And we're literally debriefing the Bible study. A police car pulls up, knocks on the window. It's like, hey, sir, hey, how you guys doing? I'm like, oh, we're doing good. Hey, I need you to step out the car. I'm like, okay. Everything all right, officer? Like, yeah, no worries. Everything's fine. Cuffs me and throws me on the ground. The narrative I'm telling myself, like, oh my God, what do? I know I had a speeding ticket a while ago that I had to go to court for it. Like, don't judge me.
We all have.
Like I'm telling this narrative. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out for myself,
What'd
which goes to show how awful of a situation was. And I'm like, dang, my future wife is gonna leave me. Like, what's she think of me? Which she had some of that. But then I hear her go to the other side of the car. It's like, hey man, do you have any guns, any weapons? And you just step out of the car and cuffs her and puts her on the ground. I'm like, okay, what is she doing? Like, what's going on? Come to find out, squad cars get called in. He misread our plates by one number, but we fit the description as what his words were. That traumatized me.
Oh, yes.
Still to this day as I talk about it. What happened to us was not our fault. And this is what I would say. What happened to you with racism is not your fault. But what you do moving forward, you're responsible for. Like what you do with that experience, you can either, like what my wife talked about, become hard and calloused and just view the world through a lens of like hatred. And as Harry Flanagan, one of our clinicians who is phenomenal, I meet with him every week. I love you and I can't stand you sometimes, Harry, because you kick my tail and I love it. But he talks about like the drama cycle, and one of them is victim. Like blaming everybody for an experience that may have not been your control, but where you get to be healthy is when you are integrating, you're becoming creative and all of these things where you're taking ownership of your story. It's like, what happened to me is not my fault. It's not my fault that he misread my plate, didn't read me my rights and just automatically assumed I fit this description. But I am responsible with what I do with that experience, because it can harden me or soften me. So as I raise our girls using like trauma that I've been through with race and even sexual brokenness, is taking responsibility for the things that I was responsible for and not controlling the things that I didn't have control over, and speaking truth and love for my girls is a part of like me talking to my younger self, like Emmanuel, like, it's not your fault you were called the N-word. It's not your fault that you're Black. Like, own who you are. Like, you're created in the image of God. You're a reflection. You're an image bearer. Like, own that. So that's what I would tell.
Oh, encouraging.
Yeah. I would probably just say, like, very simple is you're valuable. Like, if I'm speaking directly to my child self right now, is you're valuable. And that alone, I think, would have been enough in that season of life I was in. It's just knowing that everything I am and every way that I am created, I'm valuable and loved.